on issues with the functioning and existence of Pktt. There was no indication of dissatisfaction or objection regarding the team's activities or mandate. However, following these events of the 6th of December, there has been a marked and coordinated effort to dismantle Pktt, seemingly without any consideration of the ongoing investigations, active court proceedings, or adherence to established legal requirements. This abrupt change instance suggests that actions taken by the Pktt during the 6th of December operations triggered a targeted campaign to undermine and ultimately disband the team, regardless of the broader implications for justice and the due process.
Lieutenant Shadrack Sibiya did not only want to disband the political and alive task team, but he wanted to collapse the entire SAPS system. He did not only give pressure or put pressure on Dumisani Khumalo, Fani Masemola, but he also pressured Senzo Mchunu to a point that he became charge of this whole thing so that his will can be done. In this video, I wanted us to look at the last bits of Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo's testimony to prove that which I've just made right now, that Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya's intentions was to collapse the entire SAPS system. So Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo yesterday continued with his testimony, and he made really important points about Shadrack Sibiya, Senzo Mchunu, and himself, especially now with the charges that he's faced with. Let us start with Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya. He said that Shadrack Sibiya, after the disbandment of the political and alive task team, there were a lot of vacancies on SAPS that they had to fill. And him and Shadrack Sibiya had a little bit of a squabble around those positions, that when he would make suggestions, Shadrack Sibiya will collapse those suggestions so that his suggestions can be taken important than the ones that were made by Dumisani Khumalo. And he cannot proceed without the go-ahead of Shadrack Sibiya.
The only possible reason for now will be during 2024, the division had advertised 2 batches of senior management posts that included provincial heads of crime intelligence as well as the other section heads at head office level. So on both occasions, as we follow the process, once the Human Resource Management Division of SAPS approves your request for the post that you will want to advertise, they will then indeed advertise the post, and then they will receive applications. They will screen the applications and applicants, and then they will send to you those applications that they see that they meet the requirements, and then they will request you then to make a submission or a proposal for the panel. So on both occasions, or maybe let me start with the first batch. I did it on the first batch of posts. Then the line of communicating that proposal, I will send it to the immediate supervisor, the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, for his support of the proposed panel, who will then sign it off and process it further to the Division Human Resource Management for approval in consultation with the National Commission. So my proposal for the panel for the first batch then was not supported by the Deputy National Commissioner. Instead, then he proposed his own panel, of which then he had to do it in consultation with myself. And then I did not agree with his set of panel, and then there was then that stalemate, that now myself, I'm proposing a certain panel, he is proposing another panel. Then the Division Human Resource Management is not expecting to receive 2 sets of proposals. They have to get one proposed by myself, supported by immediate supervisor, so as they can approve it in consultation with the National Commission. So the process of filling those posts remains stagnant there. It did not move. And then another request.
That what was one of the things that made him to see that, okay, things are not really looking good between him and Shadrack Sibiya. And prior to the operations that were happening on the 6th of December, there wasn't much that was going on between them. But now, we see them now having these squabbles. He sees Shadrack Sibiya seem as if he's more hostile towards him. And he was not happy about that, because remember, these people have been working together, and they are working together, and they need to try find common ground and how they can do this thing. But that's the thing. Dumisani Khumalo touched a part that he was not supposed to touch, which were his friends and his own operation, which they were investigating at that time. And he was so angry that they're investigating him and his friends.
The only time the letter was shared with me officially was on the 14th of January, which is like 2 weeks after it has been out, when the National Commissioner came back from leave and then called me in for the discussion of this letter, and then he handed over the file with the letter. So that was the first time I will say I confirmed that it's not fake news. It's indeed an official communication between the minister and the National Commission.
And then Dumisani Khumalo says that one of the things that were very, very shady about Shadrack Sibiya was how he sent the letter. The first letter that he sent in January. I think he said on the 4th or the 3rd of January. And that letter was to say that it was just one line. Actually, it was not a letter, it was an email. One line email that was not really clear, that was vague, asking him to do a report. And he was like shocked as to which report. There's no attachment. What are we talking about? Because remember, on the 31st, that disbandment letter was making rounds on social media, but it was not officially given to Dumisani Khumalo and the people of interest, including Fanny Masemula. So it was still something that Dumisani Khumalo regarded as unofficial. So now Shadrack Sibiya assumes that, okay, I think you know, man, just comply a report. And he did not reply to that email because he was like, but how do I reply to an email of something that I don't even know what is it about?
One of the points that I've seen on the letter that is on the social media. Then the message was the DNC crime detection has directed the trailing email be forwarded for your attention and the closing report for sign off by the 13th of January. That is the email as received, and it had no attachment. It was just this email that officially I could not understand it. Hence, there was no further action to it because it is just having that one line without any attachment for me to have a proper understanding of the background of the directive.
And if we just scroll down, please. Right. So what was being forwarded to you was an email that was sent to the Deputy National Commissioner of Crime Detection.
Yes.
Is that right?
That is correct.
And can you just read the last paragraph of that email?
Your office, which is the office now of the Deputy National Commissioner, is further requested to submit a close-up report to be submitted on the 14th of January 2025 for NATCOM's, which is the shortword of National Commissioner's consideration and sign off to the Minister.
Okay, so this email was forwarded to you, and the request was for you to prepare a closing report for sign-off by 13 January.
That is correct.
And did you have any communication at this point in time with the National Commissioner about a closing report?
Yes, in fact, I did have the communication even before the 7th, as I've indicated that from the 1st, when this letter was trending, I was receiving lots of questions and calls from the team members, from the stakeholders and PA, from correctional services, from everybody, and I could not answer them. Hence, then I had made a call to the National Commissioner whilst he was on leave to help me with the information so as I'm able to respond. Then I got the response that he is also in the dark. The best thing is just wait until I come back. That is exactly what I did. I disowned the letter from the 1st when it started trending up until the 14th when I received it officially, and we had an opportunity now to discuss and try to understand it with the National Commission.
And he says he waited for 2 weeks, which is 2 weeks after that first email from Shadrack Sibiya. He waited for that time, which was on the 14th of January, for the National Commissioner to come back. And that is when this discussion started, taking shape around this disbandment process and a letter being prepared or a report being prepared into that effect. And the crazy part about this whole thing is that this disbandment is happening with Shadrack Sibiya putting so much pressure, but he was not even the acting National Commissioner. The person that was the acting National Commissioner at that time was Lieutenant General Musikidi.
It wasn't General Sibiya?
No, it was not General Sibiya.
Okay, and then in that email of the 3rd, it's addressed to, and you do mention in your statement, at paragraph 135, the email is addressed to Captain Pktt and Mabula TR, and then copied to General Sibiya and General Sibula. Where in terms of office does Captain Pktt sit? In whose office?
Captain Pktt is in the office of the Deputy National Commissioner at Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Sibiya.
And Mabula TR, do you know?
I won't know, Commissioners.
And then Sibula FM? General
Sibula FM is in the office of the National Commissioner. She is the executive manager.
Yes. And then in the email to you, which is the email of the 7th of January, it is addressed to you, and then it's addressed to you and to Captain Sibongile. And it doesn't appear that anyone from the office of the National Commissioner is copied on that email. Am I correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So it was so shocking that this man has taken over the entire system, has taken over the entire hierarchy. He does not respect it. And we're still going to see more example of how he took over everything, that he didn't even care about protocol or the hierarchy in the SAPS. He felt like he's the president. He felt like SAPS are his and he can do whatever that he wants without following anything. They then had that mother of all report that was prepared that they were going to give to the Minister of Police, which is Senzo Mchunu.
Because the first part of the 27-page report is giving a detailed briefing that has never happened before of the task team, the performance, the challenges, and other issues that one felt that maybe the minister is. In that report, we are addressing even the issues that were on the media space around the political killing task team. So because of the confusion and lack of understanding, we ended up compiling the mother of all preliminary report that will cover everything. And then at the end, then it talks to what the National Commissioner also understood to be, might be the preliminary report in terms of disbandment process. You say the decision was not based on any briefing that had been provided by us. So we realized the need of maybe providing that belated briefing so as we can get to the understanding of the reasons, because the main issue was about the reasons that are not clearly put on the letter of the 31st. So now and again when we talk, we will talk about him trying to set up that appointment for the briefing.
Before we can get to Senzo Mchunu, I wanted us to understand the side of Shadrack Sibiya first before we can delve in Senzo Mchunu. One of the very crazy things about that is that when they went to submit the report or speak to the minister on the 16th of January, it seems like everything was fine, to a point that they even told the minister about the persons of interest, which also included Shadrack Sibiya, that these people are the people that they are investigating, the Big Five, as well as senior officials that are assisting these Big Five members.
Containing mainly the motive behind the activities of the Big Five cartel, respective roles, as well as their identification. And then also the second slide talks to the identification of the senior officers within SAPS that had been identified to be working with the cartel.
So it's the GCI Ops briefing.
GCI Ops briefing. Lieutenant General Sibiya, Major General Shibiri, Brigadier Nkwashu, Captain Mahotle, by that time were the names identified.
So these were the names identified by the 16th of January already?
Yes.
The fourth name that you are not naming, what is the reason for that? Yes, it appears here.
The reason is because there are still investigations that are at a critical stage.
And the minister even gave them a go-ahead and said, go ahead, continue with the investigation.
Shocking, hence then I'll say it was shocking, but then with the comments that we can continue with the project or investigation, and also we'll provide him continuous briefings as we move on.
So just to clarify that, so he confirmed that you can continue with the investigations into those suspected implicated members?
Yes.
Nah, this is where everything changed, because the next day on the 17th, Shadrack Sibiya sends Dumisani Khumalo a letter.
Now this letter is dated 17 January. Had you had any communication with General Sibiya between the first email you received on the 7th of January from his office for the close-up report? So between the 7th of January and this letter, did you have any communication with General Sibiya?
After I received the email on the 7th, there were a few calls that I received from him trying to find out as to how far. Then those questions will be met from my side with the same explanation that I've given, that I do not understand what is it that I need to do. Because you just forwarded to me an email without an attachment, so as then I can understand what is it that I need to do. So our discussions were around that, and then there was also somewhere during the discussions when then I indicated that I'll rather wait for the National Commissioner, to whom then the letter that was trending was addressed to, so as then I can officially understand what is it that must happen. So it was those discussions, and then as I've indicated, on the 14th, when the National Commissioner came back, then we had those discussions and way forward, followed by the briefing on the 16th, and then preparing for the report for the 20th of January as per the letter. But then after the briefing on the 16th, then on the 17th, I then received the letter as per Annexure 25.
Saying that, you know what, just give me the report, wind down or disband immediately, finish this whole thing. I want my report right now.
I could not understand without the attachment. If I could not understand when there was an attachment, it was worse than when we were discussing the issue of the report, when I had not received an official attachment that, again, would have needed us to discuss, so as we are on a common understanding. So that's why our discussions before the 14th, the National Commissioner came back, were not taking us anywhere.
And General Sibiya didn't offer you any information as to why the minister made the decision?
No. We did not get even to that part of the discussion. It was a matter of, as the email is saying, that one line, the report, the preliminary or the closing report, if I'm not mistaken, the closing report, because that is the other issue, that even if I wanted to use the unofficial letter that I had seen. The unofficial letter was talking of a preliminary report before or on the 20th. Then towards the end or somewhere of January, then the closing report. But I think during our discussion, I even raised that as one of the reasons why I'm stuck. Because the email says provide the closing report, if I'm not mistaken. But the unofficial circulating letter says provide the preliminary report first before the closing report. So it was just those discussions.
So General Sibiya was asking you for the closing report, and was he putting you under pressure? I mean, was there a sense that it had to be done immediately?
Yes.
Okay, so that.
The crazy part about this, though, is that Shadrack Sibiya wants this report, but Fani Masemula is working with Dumisani Khumalo to find reasons as to why are they disbanding.
Easier. The response will be exactly that. From the meeting of the 14th, the agreement was we are working with the National Commission, myself and the National Commissioner on this process. Now, when the letter of the 17th came, confusing and contradicting itself as it is, but I did not consider complying with it because I had this other plan and the arrangement and the instructions from a more senior officer.
In short, is it correct? Would it be correct to characterize it this way? General Sibiya went and did his own thing when he sent you this directive. He didn't have the approval of the National Commission.
That's correct.
Would that be accurate?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And you know what is so shocking as well is that Shadrack Sibiya, it seems like he wanted to take the blame, wanted Dumisani to take the blame, to seem like Dumisani is the one that initiated the disbandment.
One then was forced to ask himself this question, but who decided to disband the task team? Now, why are you looking for reasons from a person who did not decide? Because this letter maybe was having a wrong address. It was supposed to go somewhere else, then mistakenly it was addressed to myself. So it's one of the issues that will make it very difficult to attend to the issues raised in this directive.
Because even in that letter, it says that give us reasons on why you disbanded. Yani now. And also, he wanted a closing report, whereas the disbandment letter from the minister says that he wants a preliminary report. And I think those are some of the examples to show you that he was not only controlling these people, Fani Masemula, the entire SAPS system, was also controlling the minister, because every time whenever the minister failed to do something, it seems as if it comes across as if this is this person that is coming to step in to fix whatever mistakes that were made by the minister. He also speaks about some assessment policy, or he's referring to some assessment.
Activate and disband the NTT-PK. This decision was informed by an assessment that the task team no longer significantly contributed to policing efforts.
So that sentence, the decision was informed by an assessment. Did General Sibiya, with this letter, send you the assessment?
I've never received any assessment that was informing this sentence.
But that's the thing, Dumisani Khumalo says that there was no assessment prior. Instead, this man approved of the budget for the political unalivings to continue in 2023.
Note that was compiled by myself on the 27th of March 2024, and it was verified and approved by the Deputy National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Sibiya. It was a request for a financial authority for the financial year 2024-2025 of the National Task Team investigating political-related cases in KZN, which is Pktt. The achievements, the performance, as well as successes of the task team has been found to be outstanding during the continuous evaluations by the National Steering Committee, the Interministerial Committee, and the President of the Republic. The current phase of the task team was approved up until 2024-03-31. So this information note was compiled on the 27th, which was 3 or 4 days before the expiry of the authority that was approved. It was recommended by General Sibiya on the 26th of March.
So he would have agreed with the assessment of the Pktt as of March 2024, as described in paragraph 4.
That is correct, Commissioner.
And they're supposed to continue until, I think, 2025, if I'm not mistaken, or 2024. And he's shocked that this man now, who's the one that approved the budget and even was against the decision of the CFO, who didn't want to approve the budget, now wants this team to be disbanded.
Then the National Commissioner says the task team will continue beyond elections, which is contrary to what the CFO had recommended. The reason given by the National Commissioner is so long there is work to be done, the team cannot be localized to KZN, which is a direct disapproval of the recommendations by the CFO, the last part of the recommendations by the CFO.
The part where it says there should be a permanent structure in KZN, there should be consideration of a permanent structure.
That is correct, Commissioners.
So, and then after this 20 million approval, was in the adjustment, in the final allocation of the budget, was there an allocation then to the task team for the remainder of the financial year?
Indeed, that is correct. Yes.
So we have this information note, and we've established that General Sibiya recommended it in line with the way in which you had prepared the report. And so between that's March and December, did anything happen to change the picture of the work of the Pktt between March when this was approved Well, we know in September 2024, there was still, no, that was September 23, sorry. So between March 24 and December 2024, did something happen that would give one pause and say that the work of the Pktt needs to be re-examined? Did something unusual occur?
From the Office of the Deputy National Commissioner, as his recommendation of the political killings task team to continue because of its good work in March up until December 2024, there has been no other report or complaint contrary to that. Instead, although it's not part of my statement, there was a time when there were killings in the Eastern Cape, and the Deputy National Commissioner was on his way to attend to that, and he sent me a message to say, it looks like you'll have to prepare your Pktt, some of them, that was before December, but it was between March 2024 and December, just to prove that the performance of the Pktt, that he was aware of the performance of the Pktt, because he had requested to extend the mandate of the Pktt then to that other investigation in the Eastern Cape. And in that communication, he even suggested that the team that is already in the Eastern Cape doing Fort Hare cases also do those cases that had happened in the Eastern Cape.
And this whole thing, this budget that was approved was supposed to run from March 2024 until December 2024.
The end of March 2025, which was recommended by the Deputy National Commissioner. Now, if in December, you don't even maybe raise that issue to say, but the minister's directive of immediate disbandment is also affecting the financial authority that is still on. So there will be some sort of wasteful expenditure. I'm citing that because of the cross-referencing that we were just talking to.
This letter was so confusing that he wanted oversight, accountability from a person that doesn't even know reasons on why they disbanded.
So that was not going to be possible to happen. That measure number one. Same applies to accountability. Accountability moves together with an official allocation of a task to someone. Now, after we have disbanded and removed all the responsibilities from everybody, then it was going to be a problem in terms of accounting. The other issue that one can flag that is appearing almost throughout the measures is the accountability, oversight, and everything that needs to happen. It's directed to the Divisional Commissioner for Detectives and Forensic Services. So from us that were responsible in accounting, that will mean with immediate effect, we cut, and we are no longer responsible or accountable. It's someone else now that must be accountable with effect from that day the immediate disbandment is effected. Also, another example that one can use on those measures is the assignment of cases, where, if I may read, it says all dockets must be hand-delivered to a location designated by the Divisional Commissioner, Detectives and Forensic Services, who must establish a secure repository for case files and evidence to ensure continuity and prevent any loss or tampering. These dockets would then be reallocated to appropriate investigative units. So reading that together with measures to be put in place to make sure that ongoing investigations are not disrupted, it's another example that I can quote to say it's contrary to, because if we take all the dockets to the Office of the Divisional Commissioner Crime Detection, who must then look for people somewhere that are going to start or continue with this investigation, that on its own amounts to the disruption that on paragraph 3 you are trying to avoid. Put measures in place to avoid disruption, but the measures in place that you are putting, they are promoting disruption. So that is another example that I can cite as to why then this directive was also very impossible to implement from the side of the responsible and accountable project manager. I could not, because by that time I was still a responsible and accountable project manager. Now,
so it seems as if he wanted to shift everything to Dumisani Khumalo for him to take the fall, and it seems like he's the one that wanted this whole thing. Him and the minister, as well as Fanny Masemola, are just endorsing and are just helping him to ensure that the political unaliving does get disbanded.
This letter. Hence, then my interpretation was, if then investigating officer A was busy investigating this docket, then he or she is told to put it down and then take it to the office of the divisional commissioner. And this divisional commissioner look for a suitable unit and an investigating officer who's going to continue with the investigation. According to me, that is contrary to the bolded part of paragraph 3 of the same letter, that these measures must be put in place to ensure the ongoing investigation is not disrupted, because that alone is disruptive.
And he also suggested that this team needs to be taken to other teams that are going to work on that particular project of the political unaliving task team. But Dumisani Khumalo says that was not going to work because teams have certain training, hence they are part of that team. And the task teams are mostly made up of different expertise, which then form these task teams.
Operatives that have successfully completed the national intervention training, only them. No one else can be part of that unit. Same applies to a investigative unit or a murder and robbery unit. It is made up of investigators. Then the task team, the difference is you draw expertise from different units to make a task team. So it will be naive to think that what the task team can do, the unit can also do, because the task team is made up of expertise from different units and expertise. That is what we are trying to stress on that paragraph.
So now saying that you're taking this group to a certain task team that has certain expertise, you are literally making it to be valueless, like what the minister said. Because that's one of the things that the minister said in the letter of disbandment, that the political and unlawfully task team is valueless.
Then maybe to steal this moment for a few seconds before then I get to the question by the SC. It is the 31st of December. The letter, we see it circulating on the social media, I think from the afternoon of the 1st, which is the happiest day of the year. Everybody is in a jovial mood. Then from my personal perspective, it was indeed not the Happy New Year's Day, because I had to expect or receive calls from more than 110 people that I thought I am their leader, asking me one and the same question, all of them. Unfortunately, I could not answer any of those people that were asking what's happening, because in normal situation, they would expect any communication affecting them to come via myself or my office. But this time around, this letter just started to trend, and then and also the language used. Most of them were worried about the language used to say, how can we sacrifice and leave our families for 6 to 7 years, and then we are told that we are valueless, and all other weights that were there. I'm just touching on that, maybe because I have this platform to raise it.
So that shows that he did his own thing without the minister, because there was conflicts between the actual disbandment letter and the letter of the 17th from Shadrack Sibiya, who demanded a report and even wrote details on how that report is supposed to look like. Now let us move to Dumisani Khumalo and Fastpaced, trying to find ways to speak to the minister, especially after the 17th letter, because they did not reply to the letter. They felt there was no need for them to reply to the letter, because Fastpaced said that I will take care of everything, because that was one of the questions that we asked by one of the commissioners, that why is Shadrack Sibiya doing all of this? Where was Fastpaced? Did you inform Fastpaced? Fastpaced was on the side of Dumisani Khumalo, and he said that he would take care of it. And I think, I don't know what Shadrack Sibiya had on Fastpaced, that Fastpaced just became mum when he came to him. He did not have that strong hand to say that, no, you're not going to do that. Stop sending emails to Dumisani Khumalo, because I will handle this whole disbandment process.
Yeah, or to you or to anyone to submit a closing report.
No, thank you, Commissioner. No, this was the continuation of the anomaly that started from the 13th, 14th, 17th. So this was still the continuation where two conflicting processes were continuing.
Yes. And would General Sibiya have been aware that you and the National Commissioner prepared and submitted that report of the 22nd of January to the Minister? Do you expect him, or do you know whether he was aware of it?
No, I won't know, Commissioner, other than to rely on the feedback that I got from the National Commissioner when I was asking for the way forward.
Yes.
That said, no, don't mind. I've told General Sibiya to leave this thing to the two of us. Okay. So based on that, I'll take it that he was aware that the National Commissioner is dealing with this issue.
All right.
Specific reference, Commissioner, to the letter dated the 17th.
The letter of the 17th, but also that General Sinthumule has now spoken to you because of this latest letter from General Sibiya.
Yes, Commissioner, I was continuously updating the National Commissioner every time I receive a letter that is contrary to what we are doing. Then I'll report and share the letter with him.
Okay. And do you know if he ever spoke to General Sibiya about this parallel process?
I won't know, Commissioner, if he did speak.
Thank you.
This leads us to on the 5th of March, Dumisani Khumalo was called by the Portfolio Committee, because he had to discuss a lot of challenges that were happening in crime intelligence, as well as this disbandment of the political and unlawfully task team. And the Parliament wanted answers and wanted to understand what was really going on with this entire situation. Then he went there.
There were comments there and there, but not really burning discussions around the issues. One of the issues on the attachment is the one that talks to the story that was all over the social and print media of the division employing a 29-year-old girl, which then in the briefing, it was there with all evidence, with everything that was done. But one then also did not get it discussed there the way it's burning when it is discussed on the social and print media. Hence, then 2 months after that, we were still arrested and charged for the same thing that we had explained even to the Portfolio Committee. So my assessment will be the discussion was not as burning as the issues were discussed before we were invited.
And that they wanted approval of the budget. However, on the 1st of April, the budget was not approved entirely. There was a lot of cuts in that budget. So they only gave a budget that accommodates 68 SAPS members. So they had that cut of that budget.
Financially.
So why is this one now for the ones that were done earlier, you said, was because of the uncertainty, and so there were small extensions. Why is this one for a longer period?
Firstly, the budget allocations had been finalized. And then secondly, one being part of as I've said, that this was the period where there were lots of factors affecting the decision making. So from the application of 3 months as it's a norm, whilst waiting for the final allocation of budget, then instead 1 month is approved, and then the next batch it's 4 months. Then this time around, if now we can link this with the other parts of my affidavit, it was after the long sought after reasons for the disbandment were starting to be clear, or they were clear that they are not genuine. So then the application can be now for the whole month as powers vested on the accounting officer to approve the budget of SAPS. Now I could not sign off some of the things that were supposed to be signed by myself.
Okay.
Hence, maybe to also include, hence then even the cost center as reflected there on page 136, because that will be very specific as to where the budget will be allocated to. Under recommendation number 2, the estimated budget of 31.1 million be approved and funded from the national budget, and such budget be managed at Provincial Commissioner KwaZulu-Natal. Because of my inability since the June or July, somewhere there, the arrest up to date.
Just to clarify, General, you haven't been suspended. You're not on suspension from work. Or are you? Let me ask, have you been suspended?
I am not suspended, but I am not allowed to perform my duties.
All right, thank you.
I'll come back to the budget question later on, but I just wanted to show you that there was cuts, but I will still come back and explain what happened going forward with regards to the budget. I wanted us to first discuss the situations or the meeting of the 6th of March. So on the 6th of March, they went to Cape Town to have a meeting with the minister, the Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, the National Commissioner Sinthumule, as well as the Chief of Staff of Senzo Mchunu, who is Nkabinde.
The main reason, because I was part of the meeting, then everybody, after I presented, especially if you are a presenter, you listen attentively when your audience is now asking questions, because you want to do whatever, to understand whatever input they are going to have. Hence, then I still recall most of the inputs that were made there. The main point that the Chief of Staff, as well as the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, they were against was in the plan, disbandment plan, not to show the immediate. In other words, they were against the whole plan because the plan has got the winding down thinking. But then they will even, one of them will even say, it means you are defying the instruction of the minister, because the minister says disband now. So that was the main point. And also somewhere in the plan, we had referred to the dockets under investigations to remain with the political killings task team. So they were against even the alphabet, Pktt. It was supposed to not to be there, and then replace it with something else. And also the other issue was the destination of the dockets. The proposal was talking to the dockets moved to the provincial office, so as the provincial commissioner can decide and design the way he's going to continue with these dockets without much of the damage caused. But then the points against was these dockets must go back to their stations of origin, where they were picked from without being investigated.
Nkabinde and Senzo and Shadrack Sibiya said that, no, let us disband immediately. While the other 2 officers said that, you know what, let us not disband immediately. Let us wind down. Because remember, this process is the process that took 4 years for it to be formed, this task team. And also there's people, there are other stakeholders that need to be informed before we can actually disband. So let us take it slowly and not just disband abruptly. And the minister said that, okay, you know what, you take your time and fix some of the things that have to be fixed. We are going to meet on the 27th of March.
Also, looking at my experience, Commissioner, I will definitely say it was not proper. I have said in meetings where the chiefs of staff are sitting, according to me, it was not proper because they don't normally take part in the decision or discussion that is there during that meeting.
On the 27th of March, they meet again. But in between, Shadrack Sibiya sends Sinthumule to get the dockets.
When then I became aware of a letter, now an instruction from Lieutenant General Sibiya to Lieutenant General Sinthumule regarding the handing over of the dockets.
And that's SDK 27 at page 241 of the bundle. And that letter requires that all the cases or projects relevant to the political killings task team should be, I think it was that it should be provided to or handed over to General Sinthumule. Is that right?
Yes. The Divisional Commissioner Crime Intelligence and the Divisional Commissioner Detective Services, which is General Sinthumule, we are both reporting to the same Deputy National Commissioner. Now, the first letter of the 17th is addressed to me, but it has got a lot of reference to the Divisional Commissioner Detective Services. but it's only addressed to me. So that is that is one of the reasons also one then did not attend to it. Over and above that, the process was continuing with the National Commissioner.
Says, go get the dockets. I want the dockets back. But at the time, Dumisani Khumalo was like, no, I'm not going to give away the dockets because they're still engaging with the minister, right?
In his letter, did he offer them any suggestions about what he meant?
As a chairperson, the closing words as a chairperson were then go back and do the amendments as per the comments and then deduct this presentation into an information note where I can sign on the rescheduled meeting of the 27th of March.
So I'm not going to give back the dockets, but on the 27th, they continued with the investigation because there was nothing in that meeting that showed as if they're not supposed to continue with the investigation. They continued that investigation. However, on the 27th, when they arrived there, the minister saw that there was an increase in the number of the dockets because now the case was going to court. There was a case that they were investigating which was going to court. The minister was so angry at Dumisani Khumalo and even said that you guys are not really willing to close this thing down of yours. And in that meeting, the two deputy ministers were there as well, and it was their first time attending that meeting in Cape Town.
I call it a mistake for the lack of a better word. That happened is on the number of dockets. There was already a difference from one of the categories of the number of dockets between the 6th of March in Cape Town and the 27th of March because the team was still operating. So there will be changes, especially on the part where you report the number and categories and status of dockets. Now it happened then that the first slide was showing that different number, which then made the meeting not to continue as planned, because one had to try to explain why there is now a new number, and then the new number, according to us, was on the positive, because it was talking to a case that was previously under investigation. Now it was at court, but then we got then the comments that were suggesting that we do not want to stop the investigations because now there are different numbers, and then the discussion from there was around us not wanting, especially I'll refer to myself as the project leader because I was named by the chairperson, the minister, as a person who does not want to disband the task team. And then the meeting did not continue.
Can I pause you for a second just to be clear? So
6-7. The minister seemed angry with me. At this point, the National Commissioner and I were still proposing that the disbandment should be implemented, but if it was should not be implemented, but if it was going to be implemented, that it be a gradual disbandment as proposed as proposed in the 6th March 2025 meeting. Paragraph 168, the minister simply would not listen to anyone. He criticized me for being in charge of the Pktt and crime intelligence and questioned why was the National Commissioner and I were so invested in keeping the Pktt. He was now completely against the gradual approach and reverted to the immediate disbandment. Paragraph 169. When the minister was reminded that the Pktt was initiated in part by the president, he said that we should not mention the president and mention that he was tired of hearing about the president. Then he said that the president was in agreement that the Pktt be disbanded. I was shocked by this revelation since the president was briefed about the work of the Pktt after it was deployed to assist in the Fort Hare University murder investigations.
The way the minister was so angry, he didn't even want to speak to Dumisani. He said he's going to speak to Fanny Masabula going forward.
To establish the Pktt. Therefore, it will take a political decision to disband it. The minister said that there will be no further meetings regarding this matter, and any further engagements will be held with the National Commissioner and the meeting agenda.
Which then leads us to the handover of the dockets, because he handed over the dockets because of the amount of pressure that he was feeling at that time. And I just feel for Dumisani Khumalo, because I always think about our situation as YouTubers, especially when you don't have a team, just working on your own. It's hard to be diligent in both ad hoc as well as madlanga. You just have to choose which one to really focus on and really do well on, unless you're just going to do whap-whaps of everything. But if you want to have proper analysis, you need to choose one. Even after you've chosen that one, party politics are still happening. We saw with Flo Chivambu and Nolubabalo, the deputy president and the president of the Amaibui Africa, they're fighting. Jacob Zuma just fired Dr. John Hlophe, who was the deputy president of the Mkhonto Wesizwe party. Formal traders just won right now. The city of Johannesburg just won, and they allowed the informal traders to be put in certain environments for them to continue trading because of the right to trade, and also they're preparing for G20. They don't want everybody to be filled in the entire city of Johannesburg. They just want to control that mess that was going on there. Then we have now the High Court deciding that which Operation Tutula is doing is illegal. Looking at all of this, Madlang, ad hoc, it's hard to keep up.
Not to me, that I've never been given an opportunity to engage, but in meetings where I'm part, it will come now and again, but not as a main point of discussion.
Is this in meetings with the minister?
Yes.
The minister being present in the meetings?
Yes.
Okay. And your immediate superior, General Sibiya, has he formally raised any concerns with you about your dual roles?
Also, of late, maybe let me give it the timeline. This is the comment that started to be popular of late, not because, if we may recall, my immediate supervisor recommending the extension done by me in March 2024. So I will say everything was rosy up until a particular time towards the end of the year, when then we start experiencing these comments also.
General Sibiya?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, General, you mentioned 2 other task teams. Are these task teams also national task teams?
They are multidisciplinary task teams of the police, SAPS.
And what are these other 2 that you're referring to?
The other one,
the names of the task teams.
the names, the other one has got a very ugly name, a Zulu name, Umkoti Wemvubu, which is in...
Wemvubu? Wemvubu, what name?
Can you repeat it?
Umkoti Wemvubu.
Oh, I wanted to hear the name.
Yeah, it is in the border of South Africa and Mozambique, dealing with the cross-border crimes, or more especially cross-border vehicle thefts or hijackings. And then it's another multidisciplinary project or task team with investigating officers, combat, LCRC, some of the expertise. Also, the other one is formerly Operation Thunder in Cape Town. That was later in 2018 changed to Operation Lockdown. That is still on.
And I even remember yesterday when I watched Madlang, after watching Madlang, my head was spinning. I was like, no, let me just sleep and then I'll record in the morning. Because there's just a lot going on. I can just imagine the type of stress that Dumisani was under at that time. Sinthumule. Actually, Shadrack Sibiya was putting pressure on Dumisani Khumalo in all angles, and he captured the entire SAPS system.
Sinthumule had come long time ago, I think beginning of March or February, if I'm not mistaken, and there were lots of activities and discussions and meetings that were happening. So the persistence from Lieutenant General Sinthumule was only more during the first month. But then from the 5th of March, these activities started. Then there was then maybe also from her side the hope that these meetings and activities will give light to that instruction. But then after the meeting, or around the meeting of the 27th, then that is when then it's the persistence started again, that I have this instruction to comply with. It's me who's in trouble, not you. You are not instructed. So for you is just to hand over the dockets to me, and then I'll be seen to have complied. That's exactly what I did.
To ensure that his will is done, not only capturing the Pktt or trying to destroy it and destroying the life and the career of Fani Masemola, but ensure that everyone involved, including the system thereof, is destroyed. Obviously, after that meeting where Senzo Mchunu was very angry at him, he had to give the dockets on the 29th and on the 28th and the 29th to Sinthumule, which was they had to be taken to Pretoria. And he felt like there was no need for him to tell Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, because it was not his place for him to do so. That's what he said.
This 121, I hand them over to Lieutenant General Sinthumule. And then during the accounting session, then chaired by the Provincial Commissioner, he is inquiring about the status of these dockets, and he gets the report that they were taken by me. Yeah.
Okay, so you assumed that he was aware. Is that why you didn't inform him?
Not that I assumed that he was aware. Firstly, it was not my place to inform, because the period, as I've said, it was a period of uncertainty, and then one would have thought that after the agreement of whatever way forward, then the National Commissioner is the one who's going to inform us all, because even myself, I needed to be informed. So all of us were waiting to be informed as to the way forward.
And as I've said, I think in as much as we can judge and all of that, but we need to take it with a pinch of salt and think about us as people in reality. What were you going to do? I probably was going to do the same thing, because he felt helpless. Hence, he didn't even know what to say to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. He just wanted the dockets to get this over and done with, because it has been stressful from the New Year's. Now it's March. It's still very stressful, and they're attacking him left, right, and center. But the crazy thing, or the caveat in this whole thing, is how the dockets were still requested even after they were handed over on the 28th and 27th of March.
A period between February, March and April, when the investigation was at an advanced stage for us to continue with the second phase of takedown on GCI ops, and we were in and out of NPA offices discussing, trying to get our way. And then during this period, we see now the revived efforts that are talking to the dockets, more especially now the dockets of GCI Ops. We have delivered on the dockets of Pktt, but still now the approach is direct, that it's talking to the GCI Ops dockets. Hence our view that the closure or the disbandment of Pktt was a mistaken identity, because the dockets are handed over. Then soon after that, there is direct now attempts through Bulgarin Kwashu. There is a letter now on the 22nd of April that now demands all the dockets, meaning others have been received, but there are those that are still outstanding. That is what informs then our mistaken identity of the closure of Pktt.
On the April, we see in April, Nkwashu coming in asking for the dockets. How is Nkwashu asking for the dockets when the dockets have been given to Sinthumule? So clearly not all dockets had reached Sinthumule. Some dockets have been taken by somebody, but it's not clear who actually took some of those dockets, because Nkwashu comes and wants the Arman Swat's dockets, saying that if these warrant officers don't give, or these investigating officers don't give the dockets, then what is going to happen is that they will face disciplinary proceedings. And they're even saying that the provincial commissioner, the Gauteng provincial commissioner, wants those dockets. And Dumisani Khumalo said no. If they want dockets, the senior official, who is the Gauteng provincial commissioner, must come to Dumisani Khumalo to request for those dockets. And he then explained what is gathering dust. That gathering dust means that you are just inspecting the dockets. You're not doing any investigation. You're just inspecting them. You're not doing any investigation whatsoever. Now moving right along to Senzo Mchunu. Senzo Mchunu disbands and does not even consult the appropriate people or the concerned people, including the IMC, which is the Interministerial Committee. And the worst part is that the Interministerial Committee, or the ministers in that Interministerial Committee, even commended the work of the Pktt. So all of this is confusing, that they commended their work, they said their work is really good, but now they come and they disband, which is the minister, Senzo Mchunu.
Under the comments by the chairperson, the last bullet the second bullet from last, which reads, the minister praised the task team and encouraged them to put more effort so that a message is sent that there are consequences for breaking the law. So those were sentiments that were shared by the IMC during this initial meeting of the new team that was put in place. The task team should not be disbanded. It was also meaning that the IMC will continue overseeing even after elections. So my response will be, according to my view, it was not supposed to be like that.
And again, make contact with any of the members of the IMC. Did the minister consult the top management of the SAPS, which I assume would obviously include the national commissioner and perhaps even you as the project manager? Did the minister do any of those?
Thank you, Commissioner. Based on the information that I've received up until now, the minister did not consult any of the incumbents of the ministries that are making up the IMC. And also to add, even the information also received up until now, even the current deputy ministers were not consulted, of which then with the previous IMC, by then we had one deputy minister of police who was now and again in attendance on some of the IMCs. So at that level, I'll say, based on the information that I've received up to now, there was no consultation at that level.
And he even said that the deputy minister could have filled in Senzo Mchunu on to say that these are the steps that were decided, or the agenda that was adopted in that interministerial committee meeting, the last one, and which then said that, the political and alarming task team must continue. Now the minister comes and disbands. That is one of the things that shows that this man probably did not even know what he was doing. He just thought very quickly and then was like, this is the only solution. Let me just do it very quickly without wasting time.
The communication, which was starting to give us more supportive information as to why we say the reason was because of the activities of December. I pointed towards the format of the letter. According to me, it's my view again, it was not a letter that was given the attention that it deserves, that needs to be crafted such that. So it talks to the letter that had to be speedily finalized. And now looking at the happenings of December, I will stick to my view up until I get the official reasons for not.
Secondly, he went to AWOL all that time after the disbandment. He comes on the 16th. On the 16th, when he comes, it was when they had the meeting, when they named the people that are part of the Big Five. I did say that, guys, that they did disclose the names even that of Shadrack Sibiya. And the minister even said that continue with the investigation. And they continued with the investigation. Then it was followed by the 17th meeting, which then is one of the things that shows that probably they spoke And the minister said that, you know what, I don't want to be involved because it seemed like I'm changing my mind when I told them to continue investigating. You give out the letter. You know, one thing about Madlanga, this is what I love, is that we will get to see the side of the story of Shadrack Sibiya in full after all of this has been said. And I think his testimony is going to be quite long, because I'm trying to understand who gave him a go-ahead on the 17th. And high chances the minister gave him a go-ahead on the 17th to release that letter. And Senzo Mchunu, why did he give a go-ahead on the 17th to release that letter when on the 16th he agreed that they should continue investigating? And whether did he consult? Whom did he consult? What informed him to take all the steps that he took, from making sure that after the disbandment puts pressure about the reports and making things that are conflicting the actual disbandment letter, to him saying the things that he was saying in the meeting, saying let's disband immediately, to him taking the dockets, taking them by force and putting pressure on the right people, the necessary people, so that his will can be done. This man wanted to collapse the entire system. So they were given 31.1 million for the funding for the financial year until I think March 2026. And that is when they're going to then extend, because I think the extension is until August next year. I don't know if after then they will disband or they'll continue. We'll just see with the minister. I think at this moment it will be Minister Kachalia, or it will be Senzo Mchunu if Mr. President decides to see that he's not guilty.
31.1 million, and the CFO is availing plus minus 27 million. Reason being, that's why the CFO is explaining that the management of this budget should be such it is utilized up until the end of February 2025, which is a month before. Reason being that all the expenses during March will be accommodated for in the new financial year. So it's not a decrease on the estimated budget. It's a minus of 1 month expenditure, which is March the following year.
I think this entire process of the disbandment was the process of Shadrack Sibiya more than the process of Senzo Mchunu. It's very clear and apparent that it was the process of Shadrack Sibiya, and he was the one that was chairing this whole thing. He was the cheerleader, influencing everybody, and also pressuring everybody to a point that he wanted to change the entire system, including the hierarchy, making himself the boss or the one that has to decide on this entire thing and what happens of it. They were all victims of his plan. They were all victims of what he wanted to do.
When we deal with projects, there will be a National Executive Committee of Intelligence that is dealing with that project, and no one else is allowed or is supposed to know and do anything about the project. So the accused on this case that were arrested on the 26th of June is the whole National Executive Committee of GCI Ops. Now, fast forward to the condition that one has not seen much, maybe I must add much, not at all, to say you're on bail, but you are not suspended, but don't go to work. One is associating that with the main purpose of, because going to work, it means you are going to continue working on the GCI Ops. So you are not allowed to go to work to do your work. You can do something else, but not the work. So I'll point only on that point when I try to summarize these cases, especially the one that I'm not supposed even to talk that much on it because I have interest or I'm part of it. Then the other cases we have referred to during my testimony, the attempts we saw from the WhatsApp chats, the attempts to open cases through Pktt. We saw another case of false information about the Rolex watch. So there's been lots of cases, and the 3 cases that were opened around Orlando against the team, and another one, the kidnapping, opened and registered as a victim by one of the targets from our side that we have been referring to, a ballistic expert. So with all those, the common denominator of information is there is a coordinated effort of destabilizing the GCI Ops by then opening these fake cases against the team management and members as part of retaliation.
Let us then close this video by talking about Dumisani Khumalo. So painful that these people are always prosecuted who want right and who want to protect South Africans. Dumisani Khumalo had cases that he's faced with. The point that we've been sold that narrative that this man is pushing nepotism, and also he is surveilling people, like the way we've even heard from Defo, that this man is not as good as you guys think he is. And after his testimony yesterday, I beg to differ with people like Advocate Defo. I think this man was specifically targeted, especially since he got arrested, I think around June, July, and that arrest followed everything that has been going on. The last nail that Shadrack Sibiya wanted to put on his coffin was to send him to jail. And he wanted exactly that by using a case that does not even make sense of nepotism, saying that he committed fraud and corruption. And I think it's that one of Dino Mukwelo or something like that. Obviously, he was asked as to whether he followed proper procedure and due process. And this is how he responded when he was asked about that.
Advertised requirements for the position.
We were looking for the head of our technical support services. Without detailing it that much, so as we don't expose our covert methodologies, but it's a person, firstly, who's qualified in mechatronics, a person who can combine both mechanical engineering and electronical engineering to suit our covert activities needs. So those people are normally found then in these environments, like BMW or Ford, or because they are doing both electronical and mechanical engineering, or qualified, and they have experience.
Was she based at the manufacturing plant, not at a dealership?
I cannot be able to be quite sure in terms of the separation, but what I know is she was a supervisor of technicians that are doing mechanical and electronic work in the manufacturing part of the car.
So do you say that she met the advertised requirements?
According to us as the panel that recommended her as candidate number 1, she did meet all the requirements.
And one of the commissioners were very concerned about this case specifically and asked more than once about the bail conditions, which are barring him from going to the office or from continuing his work. And today we are going to hear the proceedings. There's going to be playing the proceedings of that bail alteration, the relaxation of the bail conditions, which includes him not going to work. Let us delve deep on that for just a few seconds.
To members of the Intelligence Division of Crime Intelligence.
I was hoping that
I'm not asking you to explain in full. I'm not asking you to give an explanation. I just want to know whether your bail conditions include that you may not speak to employees.
No, it does not, Commissioner. Talk to speaking.
Yes.
The only condition is we must not go to our offices to do our crime intelligence work.
Yes.
We can do whatever other work as long as it's not crime intelligence.
All right, thank you.
I think the court indirectly suspended Dumisani Khumalo in these proceedings. And I say that because the Constitution guarantees the right to trade. And it's not in the place of the court to say someone should not go to work. It is the decision of the employer, not the court. Let us look then at what makes a person to end up not going to work. And one of those is that when you are being given bail, they look at whether it's in the interest of justice for you to be given bail. And one of the factors that the court looks at is whether you're not going to intimidate witnesses. And I guess that's one of the arguments that would be raised maybe by the NPA or the person that is taking him to court, that, okay, this man has intimidated witnesses. But that's the thing. If you can release Katiso Molefe, a man that has been accused of unaliving people, but has never interfered or has never been taken back to court because of intimidating witnesses, and then you think that a full crime intelligence head can compromise his work like that he can go intimidate witnesses, I don't want to believe that. Hence, I can't believe that advocate therefore definitely wants to push a certain narrative, because he says that if they relax, he'll be harassing him and his family. But that's the thing. I think the court should definitely look at bigger scope than that. But some of the courts can just say that is enough basis to say that this man can intimidate witnesses, hence he should not go back to work. And I'm very curious about the proceedings today as to how they're going to go forward with Mshololo representing Dumisani Khumalo. I don't know if she will be there or what, but I'm very curious about the proceedings there, because this man has been fired unlawfully and he has to go back. If it has not been fired, he's just been suspended by the court. The court suspended him. And I think that's one of the things that made the commissioners to be very worried that what type of a decision is this one? Even though you can say someone is intimidating witnesses, there's other alternatives. If they can say that, I've seen a lot of bail applications as a person who is in practice, that at sometimes they can decide that your clients they can intimidate witnesses, but they have to stay in an alternative address so that they don't disturb witnesses. There's an option. There's always an option. There's always a plan B. And I'm hoping that Mshololo today will definitely challenge these bail conditions very well, because they can easily say that in as much as he's the head of crime intelligence, he can be taken to another station. He can work somewhere else. He can work in KZN. Maybe that some corners can say, come, let him come this side. I don't know if he can relocate because he has a family. But there's always way. These days we even work from home, guys. People work from home. They can find ways for him to have the things that he wants from home. Maybe he can just go to the office occasionally to get certain things that he can't do at home. But I just think that this one of suspending him from his duties and the honoral by the courts, because the courts are the ones that have suspended him, is very, very problematic. I know this was the longest episode I've ever done. The longest episode I've ever done. But I just wanted to unpack everything so that you guys can understand what has been going on with the Madlanga and the testimony of Dumisani Khumalo. Hopefully I've summed it up. My battery's even complaining. Nonetheless, please comment your thoughts, guys. I will see you on my next upload. Bye.